Thanks for tuning in to more college football talk on the OFN Today, Our Lads Football Network, ACC football, Clemson Tigers football, as the Tigers will battle Georgia in a couple of days. We'll talk about their season, a little bit about the game, and of course that means Phil Kornblut is my guest following South Carolina Sports Talk. And we're getting close to 40 years, Phil.
Indeed we are, but who's counting?
I'm not.
That's right.
So don't worry about it.
It's just a number. It's
Yeah,
just a number.
That's all. But the last, what is it now? The last 7-8 years have been pretty damn good covering Clemson football, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Tigers have been just on a great roll for them, and it's been a lot of fun going to the playoffs every year and seeing them compete against the best in the country, sometimes doing very well. But the last two times in the playoffs, their last two playoff games did not go well. That lost to LSU and then lost to Ohio State.
Yep.
So they gave up a ton of points and a game a bunch of yards. So I know that Brent Venables, now that they're going to be playing to open up the season, a quality opponent, high-level offense, wants to see his defense bounce back and be dominant once again.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Clemson-Georgia game in a little bit. I want to get into the Tigers, the state of the program entering the 2021 season, or specifically this team, because as you mentioned, things haven't gone particularly well the last couple of years trying to win. I guess, look, you get spoiled. That's what happens. You win championships, and all of a sudden, if you don't win one, the fan base starts to cry a little bit, but I'm sure they still love the fact that their Tigers are where they're at, considering where they were, just another program. But how's the team look this year compared to what you've seen so far and what you know about the roster? What do you think the difference is between their chances this year and their chances over the last several years?
Well, I haven't seen much because they don't let you in to watch practice. They don't let you in to watch the scrimmages, so everything's done behind the curtain. But they've had changes. They've got a new quarterback. They've got a new. They don't really have a new running back. They've got a committee of running backs. I don't think they're going to settle on one guy.
Okay.
Receivers are back. Most of the offensive line is back. Defensive front, linebackers all back. Secondary all back, but a year better, and they think improved overall in the secondary. Kickers are back, so they got the majority of their people back. Where you start with Clemson this year is on the defensive line. The NFL people will go nuts picking players off Clemson's defensive line over the next couple of years. They're that deep, they're that talented. They've got really 6 defensive ends that could be starting anywhere in Power 5 football. Yet they're willing to play at Clemson and be backed up. Xavier Thomas, for example, coming back off of health issues last year. Justin Foster deciding to come back after he got healthy after missing all of last year. And those guys are going to be backups probably because you got guys like Maskell and you got Bryan Bresee in the middle and Tyler Davis in the middle if he's healthy to play on Saturday. So they're just loaded on defense. They are stacked and loaded on defense. And we'll see how the corners play. They say the corner play's been better in camp. They lost Darion Kendrick to a transfer to Georgia.
Yep.
He will be starting for Georgia, which will make for some interesting matchups. But they've got, Fred Davis. If he's eligible to play, if he's allowed to play, he's got an issue with an accident back in July. And he's got a charge against him. It's a misdemeanor, but he was driving his car 115 miles an hour, and he hit a postal truck at 70 miles an hour. And fortunately for him, he nearly killed the postal worker. She has serious injuries, but he's only been charged with a misdemeanor, reckless driving. He's not been publicly suspended from the team. In fact, he's listed number 1 on the depth chart. But again, Dabo Swinney was asked about it earlier this week, and his response was, everybody is available to play. Doesn't mean he will play. Okay. He could still sit him out as a suspension, an in-house suspension sort of thing. But anyway, even behind him, they've got quality cornerbacks who are ready to play. So that will be the position that if JT Daniels has a chance to stand back in the pocket and throw the football, we'll see how well the Tigers can cover the depleted Georgia receiving core.
True.
This receiving group for Georgia was not the one expected to be there for this game. They've suffered injuries, etc. So that hurts Georgia. But Clemson up front is going to be really, really stout. Offensively, ball's in the hands of DJ Uiagalelei. And look, he showed last year in limited appearances what he can do. He's got a big arm.
Yes.
He's not going to run like Trevor Lawrence, but he can throw it. He can really spin it, as they say. His receiving core is excellent. They're all appear to be healthy now, and Justin Ross made the courageous comeback from his spinal issue. They're going to put him in the slot, Brian. Greg, I'm sorry. And they look for that to be a huge advantage to their receiving core, having a big guy like that in the slot. Running back situation, there's a true freshman who's come on board who's got a heck of a lot of speed, and he could be, again, it's going to be I think a running back by committee. Dabo Swinney has not named that's Will Shipley. Okay. Yep. He has not named a single starter. In fact, he's sort of mentioned that they don't need one guy to carry the mail back there like ETN did or like Wayne Gallman did. So you may see a variety of different running backs: Kobe Pace, Will Shipley. Lynn J. Dixon is the most veteran of that group.
Yeah,
and so he's going to get some work. So overall, and then the schedule, of course, always. The way things are around the ACC, let's face it, the schedule sets up very nicely for Clemson. Yeah. And their non-league games, besides Georgia, they play Connecticut, which is awful. They play South Carolina State, an FCS team, and they play South Carolina outside the league. And, the Gamecocks are rebuilding, struggling, whatever. So, and then you got your ACC schedule, which isn't going to frighten anybody.
No.
So, look, Clemson lives in a very soft neighborhood when it comes to the schedule because, hey, it's not their fault. It's what the ACC has become. But until conference members pick themselves up by the boot and become more competitive across the board, Clemson's going to have a pretty easy run of it because they just have so much talent. So even a loss Saturday night in Charlotte, though it will hurt, it won't be devastating for them because they'll have ample opportunity to recover. Now, they can't stub their toe again the rest of the way, obviously. Yeah. But they shouldn't against as long as they stay healthy and have their frontline personnel, they shouldn't.
And I think Georgia probably has if they lose, it's a lot easier for Georgia to make the playoffs in Clemson because they still get to win the SEC championship game. And if you do that, you're going to go to the playoffs. So Clemson has a little bit more to play on, but that doesn't really matter. These guys that's not what they're thinking about.
Except I would say, you're right, except I would say that Georgia has a more difficult slate. They still have to play Florida. They still have to play Auburn. They still have to play their SEC, brethren, which will not be easy as they move through their league schedule.
Okay, so let's dive into some of the players you talked about because Ross, you talked about the injury situation, the health concerns. We're still not even sure he's 100% right now.
Well, they've cleared him. They cleared him for practice, a full practice last week. So, he's been working and doing everything that he's supposed to be doing. So he must be, as far as his spinal condition is concerned, he must be, totally over that. His doctors in Pittsburgh have given him the go-ahead, and they wouldn't play him otherwise, I don't think. There was a little bit of talk on Wednesday, again, more rumor stuff that he might have hurt a foot or something. And again, nobody knows anything for sure. We won't know until Saturday, until we see who is and who isn't in uniform. And when they hand us the dress list and the list of folks who aren't playing, then we'll know for sure. But now that would be a significant loss, though they are deep at wide receiver. You don't want to lose Justin Ross for a game like this.
Yeah, obviously a couple of big guys that left the program, Rogers and Powell. What about Joseph Nada? Is Joseph Nada a potential breakout player for Clemson?
Yeah, I think so. They mentioned him. They mentioned Frank Lanson. They mentioned E.J. Williams. Now, they will be without the Spector kid, maybe their fastest wide receiver. He's out with an injury. That one we know for sure. So they'll be missing him at wide receiver. But the guys that, you mentioned Ngata, they think that he's going to, have maybe a breakthrough season for him. He's improved. He's gotten tougher. He's been dealing with some nagging injuries here and there, but he seems to have worked through that. So he'll be in the rotation as they run receivers out there.
Okay. And all right, so the quarterback, does he have a nickname yet?
Well, most people just say DJ because they
DJ.
can't say Uiagalelei.
Yeah.
Uiagalelei. It's not that hard, just Uiagalelei. Uiagalelei. It took me a good 6 months to figure
See,
it
it's
out.
not that hard.
And saying it wrong and saying it so many different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not that hard. Uiagalelei. He's got a younger brother who's a big time prospect out in California.
Okay.
He's coming in for the ball game with his family. His father, Big Dave, they call him Big Dave Uiagalelei. I'm sure you'll see plenty of shots of him on ABC. I think it's ABC. You'll see plenty of shots of him Saturday night because the cameras love to show him. He's he's a former not bouncer. He's a former bodyguard for some celebs out there in California.
Big man.
And he's very active in the high school football circles out there in Clemson. You know, having Big Dave on your side does not hurt Clemson when it comes to recruiting players from out there. For example, you're probably going to see a wide receiver named Bo Collins, who is from the same school as Uiagalelei.
Okay.
He's a freshman. And another freshman receiver, Dakari Collins. So they have Bo Collins and Dakari Collins. Dakari's from Georgia.
All right.
They, too, could get some run out there on Saturday night.
Is the brother going to follow in the footsteps to Clemson?
Don't know yet. It's too early. He's a 23 kid and still kind of, feeling his way through the recruiting process. But I think Clemson will be in the hunt for him.
You would think
sure.
so. Okay. Matter of fact, I just spoke with Raddy Nabolsi, who's the publisher of UGAsports.com yesterday. That's already available up on the channel. And so it's a pretty in-depth conversation in case Clemson fans want to find out more about the opponent on Saturday night. As far as all these really top defenders, though, up front in the front seven, and you named several of them, who do you think has the biggest? Give me a couple of them with the biggest upside.
Well, Bryan Bresee is the one that everybody raves about. He was ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year last year, and he just came in as a true freshman and was not overmatched whatsoever. And he's even stronger now. Now that he's had another year going through the weight program, he's even stronger now. So he will be a bull in the middle. Tyler Davis is another one. I mean, he is like he's just one of those bowling blocks in the middle that's just really hard to block. And so those two kind of carry the weight inside, but they've got some good backups as well. And then you look out at the defensive end position, and you've got Justin Maskell, you've got Xavier Thomas, you've got Justin Foster back, you've got KJ Henry. Mm-hmm. They're just loaded at defensive end. So it's a very talented defensive front all the way across the line there. You're going to see them rolling, especially if it's I don't know what things are cooling off a little bit around here. I don't know what the humidity is going to be, but as they substitute early in the ball game to keep people fresh, you're going to see a number of defensive linemen rolling in and out for them because they're going to try to keep them fresh and not allow Georgia with their running game and with their offensive line to wear them down. And they've got the personnel on the defensive front to be able to do that.
This is actually, if you want to look at a game where you're going to have two of the top defensive tackles in the nation, this is it. Because you have Jordan Davis with Georgia, and then you have Tyler Davis with Clemson. So that's as good as it gets in the interior of the defensive line. And, of course, you mentioned Bresee. What is it about Bresee that makes him unique?
Excellent get-off skills. First step, he explodes out of the stance, and he's just strong. He's just a bull. And he's 6'5", 300 pounds with uncanny quickness and speed. I should mention, too, and I have failed to do so, the other defensive end I haven't mentioned is Myles Murphy, who was a standout last year. So, look, Clemson's got at one defensive end. They've got Myles Murphy, Xavier Thomas, and KJ Henry. All could be starting somewhere. The other defensive ends are Justin Foster, Justin Maskell, or Xavier Thomas, as they flip Thomas both ways. And you're talking about Brassie and Davis in the middle. The backups are guys like Rook or Horhoro.
Okay.
Now that's one that I have that's one that's hard. It's Orhorhoro, and it's pronounced just like it looks. Horhoro. but I think there's an extra whore in there.
Okay.
Horo.
I like that.
Rook. Yeah, but he's moved up here in camp this year, and Trey Williams, 6'2", 300, redshirt freshman, be another guy that'll get some run out there if Tyler Davis isn't able to go. So there is if Davis and Bresee are out, then there's a little bit of a drop off in there in terms of experience and overall talent. The defensive end, there is no drop off of those 6 guys. Anybody they run out there, or 5 guys, anybody they run out there is going to be a player.
And the one guy that's still there, the familiar face in the middle, is Skalski.
Linebacker Skalski is back for like his 10th year, and he's one of those super senior types. He's back. The other linebacker, they use their strong side linebacker like a nickel. So you got Trenton Simpson over there, probably. He's a very athletic linebacker. The weak linebacker is Balin Spector. So Spector and Skalski played a lot of football for him, and they're 2 veterans. But Skalski's the guy that leads them right there in the middle.
All right, Bill. Great job as always. We'll be talking to you, I'm sure, at some point during the season. We'll see how the big game goes on Saturday. Do you have a prediction?
Yeah, I mean, on my show, as I think about it, I think Clemson will win, and I'm looking at not a lot of points. I'm picking Clemson 21-14. I'm looking at defenses dominating on both sides here, but Clemson having a little bit more in the passing game than I think Georgia will, because Clemson is basically healthy, assuming Justin Ross is playing, which I have no real reason to believe he's not. I just think that Clemson's offensive line will give Uiagalelei the time he needs to complete some passes, and I think their passing game is going to be a little bit better than Georgia's will. And I think up front, Clemson will handle Georgia's running game. I don't see Georgia being able to do what they like to do, which is establish the running game, which establishes play action and allow them to hit the deep ball. So it's kind of how I see it playing out. I got a little 21-14 thing.
Matter of fact, Ratty predicted the same thing, that he thought it was going to be a low-scoring game. He said, take the under. So
yeah, that's what I would do, too, if I were a gambling man.
I hear you. And by the way, the other thing, too, is that Georgia lost like 5 really key defenders. Big-time defenders.
Their secondary. But they picked up a Darion Kendrick, who's going to be starting for them. They picked up another. Yeah. They got another transfer they're plugging in there. So, this
they're
is where
talented.
They took
there ain't no question about that.
Portal. Yeah.
They're right there, number 1 every year, for at least the last few years in recruiting. So nobody's crying for Georgia.
No question. No, sir. No, sir.
All right, Phil, again, thank you very much. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the game against Citadel. And that's you said that's tonight?
That is tonight.
All right, the opener for Coastal Carolina. Is that on national TV?
Yeah. If you consider ESPN 3 or whatever it is,
that's
ESPN
good enough.
Plus,
that's on. Okay, yeah,
everything's
it's
national.
The Citadel,
yeah.
But it's college football. That's all we care about, right?
Hey, man, don't sleep on the Bulldogs. They'll run that triple option down your throat if you're not ready.
Okay, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
All right, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
You got it.